very much for watching Smart 24 TV. We continue to drive your business, and I'm still here with Kafero Herbert to discuss more of Uganda's economy. Well, Herbert, before the break, I mentioned something to do with our current status of the economy. Just recently here, schools are going to schools reopen for third term. Others are reopening on Monday. Parents are scared and worried because the private schools said they will increase school fees by 10%. Now, also on the other hand, commodity prices are also increasing every other day that passes by, though now fuel prices are not as high as they were at the start of the year. But I need to understand what are the best ways we are going to solve these issues now, or we should just let it flow the way it is?
Thank you so much. Just to, of course, emphasize that the economic crisis that is ongoing now is as a result of both internal and external factors. Okay. We all, of course, recognize that there is the Russia-Ukraine war. Yes. That's an external factor. Okay. That, of course, led to distortions, supply distortions. Okay. And, of course, that contributed to the rising commodity prices, rising fuel prices, because a number of African countries rely on Russia and Ukraine for food and fuel supplies. Yes. And of course, we've seen internal factors such as, of course, the climate crisis that has, of course, been manifesting in different ways. For example, the hunger in Karamoja, that's one of the manifestations of the climate crisis, where it's reported that over 900 people are estimated to have died as a result of the food insecurity and hunger. That is a hunger crisis that, of course, was happening in Karamoja sub-region. Yeah. But if we are to also look at critically the economic crisis, we realize that we had long-standing challenges, structural and systemic challenges that even predate COVID-19. They were, there before even the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Okay. So where we are as a country, of course, the issue of the debt burden is also on the table. It's an issue that is really being discussed both in policy circles and, of course, among the people, Ugandans. Okay. And just yesterday, it was reported that according to the Committee on National Economy, Parliamentary Committee on National Economy, in their performance of the economy report, it was reported that 70.4 trillion, our debt has hit 70.4 trillion shillings. So that's really should be a concern, because out of this financial year's budget, we're actually spending over 35% on debt repayment and debt servicing.
If I remember well, I think it was around 17.1 trillion that was supposed to be heading to debt. I don't know if my numbers are right, but I remember part of the budget has a very huge amount of money going to service the debt. But then surprisingly, even before that, we still have a very huge one. Even before the 7.4, you say that has risen. Yes.
But I think, there are different figures. Okay. Of course, this is the 70.4 trillion shillings. It's a figure that was, of course, revealed by the Parliamentary Committee on National Economy. And, of course, Finance has also come out to talk about our debt situation and how, our debt is sustainable. But, you see, with more of borrowing, we can't really be sure that our debt can be sustainable, because we might reach, if in the face of another economic crisis, we might not have enough room for sustainability. And of course, to the local people out there, what is more worrying is that we are spending more on debt repayment and servicing than on social services, like education, like health. I think that's really what is even more worrying.
Okay, all right. And now as we move into this, I think it's 2 months down the road of the financial year, and so far moving on so well, I should say. Not so good, but the state of the economy is not as worrying as it was before the financial year was ending, because then fuel prices were increasing steadily and Ugandans were worried about what next for us. As we are looking into this financial year, are there chances of our recovery coming to reality by 2025?
Thank you so much. I think maybe something that I would like to also hint on is that with the reopening of the economy, which of course this year full reopening, because there was partial reopening.
Yes.
You know, there's been really that organized manner of,
reopening and then closing down again.
Fully open so that, business activity can happen again and all that. And we saw that since October last year, the economy started being opened. The government opened the economy.
Opening up sectors.
In a phased manner.
Okay.
Which we truly appreciate. And the full reopening
happened
at the beginning of this year.
Yes.
But the economy was picking up. If we are to, of course, talk about the recovery, the economy was picking up, and there were high hopes that all is going to be well.
Okay.
But with the Russia-Ukraine war, there was a setback. But of course, I think what we need to talk about now, in the midst of multiple crises, the ongoing economic crisis, is now how to reorganize our economy, how to make the economy work for everyone, for all Ugandans. And maybe, of course, learning from COVID-19 and learning from the Russia-Ukraine war. Of course, different countries like Ethiopia have actually taken lessons more seriously.
Okay.
For example, Ethiopia has rolled out a nationwide campaign towards wheat growing.
Okay.
Because they are looking at, of course, many countries were so much affected by the Russia-Ukraine war. And of course, you might ask yourself why, but of course it's what I alluded to earlier, that a number of them depended on food imports from Russia and Ukraine. And other countries have actually taken lessons more seriously by embarking on import substitution, undertaking domestic initiatives to see that at least they build the local capacity in the face of, the multiple crises that are unfolding.
Okay.
And like I was hinting on Ethiopia, they have rolled out a nationwide campaign on wheat growing. So they are looking at even growing more wheat to export and also meet the domestic capacity. But also, what I would like to talk about is we shouldn't, as a country, we shouldn't operate in a vacuum, because there are regional arrangements at the East African Community level. There is the EAC intra-regional trade. There is the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Okay.
That's really a good opportunity for Uganda. However, I think the missing link is in mobilizing actors, mobilizing the private sector, mobilizing MSMEs to actually be ready to export, and also addressing the long-standing challenges. Because when you look at our MSME sector, broadly, they have been facing challenges in accessing markets, and of course that is as a result of failure to meet requisite standards.
Okay.
And there is low utilization of markets, even the domestic market here. And our trade has been, of course, characterized with rejection of products and all that. And of course, there is a lot that needs to be done internally to organize our house, to organize production, to make really trade vibrant and beneficial. Because if we are to look at our trade relations, Uganda's products have experienced rejections even in the EU. There is everything but arms. There is low utilization of the African Growth Opportunity Act, the AGOA market. Because we have low export capacity, we have failed to meet requisite standards, But how can we now work on all that? Which sector should lead in order to make the economy work for everyone? And of course, to create the much needed jobs, generate revenue.
Okay.
And as Yatini, we believe the trade sector is key.
All right.
So there is need to strengthen our trade.
Okay.
And of course, when you look at the Ministry of Trade, it's been getting really meager resources that haven't allowed it to deliver on its mandate.
Well, that is where I want us to go to. This year, the Uganda Investment Authority has come up with different summits. There was one of Turkey, then we got, that one was entirely on investment, trade and tourism. Then we got one of Somalia. The one of Somalia was bringing closer the private sector foundation, or the private sector mainly, into these activations of making sure that they understand what is happening from the trade circle. And then we got the South Sudan. So when you look at these summits and these agreements that the government is signing with other countries, also the DRC coming into the East African community, what are the opportunities for us, and what are the opportunities for Uganda's economy this time around?
Thank you. I think we've seen really government, come up with initiatives and of course make bold moves.
Okay.
I know that is happening, and there is, of course, a number of initiatives that are still also unfolding. Some are really work in progress, and some of them have already been rolled out. But as Yatini, what we believe, we should learn from what different countries are doing. We need practical measures. We need practical steps.
Okay.
If producers are having challenges with meeting standards, what should be done? Let's look at the presence of UNBS that is mandated to enforce standards. Is it present
enough
across the country? If no, then why not make UNBS have regional centers across the country? There is an initiative that was rolled out recently, the food testing laboratory that was launched in Gulu. It's a good initiative, but it's only in Gulu. How about if it's rolled out in other parts of the country?
Right.
Look at Uganda Export Promotion Board, which is, of course, mandated to, of course, raise awareness among the private sector and MSMEs, market opportunities, undertake market research, and other functions. But it has for long been understaffed and actually underfunded to deliver on its mandate. In fact, in the Auditor General's report, year ended 2020, that challenge was well highlighted about how Uganda Export Promotion Board is incapacitated to deliver on its mandate. But also, if you're also to look at what Kenya has done, Kenya has so far signed 6 trade agreements with China to export avocados. Of course, this is to the benefit of producers, because producers need a market. They need a stable and viable market where they are assured
that there is
a price.
Exactly.
And Kenya is working on that. And in fact, more recently, Malaysia and India have also contacted Kenya on the same. To actually also enter into such an arrangement. And the other issue maybe of also concern is that the available initiatives, like I earlier alluded to, the PDM, is delinked from the market. It might not really help us to deliver on agro-processing. So there is need to review it, rethink it again. In fact, as Yatini, that's what we believe. That there is need to rethink the parish development model. And we've seen government, of course, talk about how it's going to review the way it's giving out incentives, because that's also a challenge. We are having a lot of revenue leakages because we are giving investors incentives and concessions, but they are not delivering on their promises. We need jobs now. We need decent jobs. But are jobs being created? Maybe it's high time we review Uganda's Investment Act 2019 in order to actually include, make it stronger in terms of including performance requirements. That as we give you incentives, you need to deliver on this to create jobs
for Ugandans, so that also the Ugandans can get to feel
mutually beneficial.
Okay.
And it's not to the benefit of investors at the detriment of Ugandans.
Okay. But lastly, I would want you to comment something about the ongoing, you mentioned something to do with the final investment decision. Now the oil and gas sector is already taking center stage in the western part of Uganda. I believe if you can at least highlight something about it, where are the benefits of this one to us? Then how can our traders tap into this? Which way can we, the business community, tap into the oil and gas sector? By 2025, hopefully, we can reap big from this as well.
Thank you so much. But as I earlier alluded, in February, government signed the final investment decision.
Yeah.
Of course, this is a landmark, agreement.
Okay.
It's a landmark. It's one that is worth commending government for, and it's not only in isolation. There are also other initiatives that government is looking at broadly to, of course, create jobs, mobilize and raise revenue, and all that. But just to comment on it, of course, oil and gas sector is key. It's one of the key sectors of the economy. And of course, in addition to oil and gas, there's also manufacturing. And there is now, the conversation of the energy transition that is also taking center stage. And more recently, the president talked about electric cars and all that. And of course, when you look at that, it's a shift from the earlier conversation of, the oil and gas sector generating revenue, because now if you get into electric cars, it will be not business as usual expected. Of course, maybe what I would like to hint on is, even when you look at the issue of the electric cars, it will happen maybe in 20 years. That's what the president said. Maybe in 20 years. But I think what needs to happen now is to holistically look at the economy, not just in isolation, in silo kind of approach. How can we revive the economy in the midst of all these crises that are manifesting? Look at what needs to be done. We need to look at what needs to be done in terms of course, food insecurity crisis that happened in some parts of the country. Maybe it's high time we actualize the issue of setting up strategic food reserves. Look at the issue of the fuel crisis. It's high time we really come up with a stronger, beyond the fuel reserve in Ginger. It's high time, because it's also operating below capacity. It's high time we come up with deliberate policies and also actions that are coordinated in a manner that can help us be resilient in the midst of all these crises. But of course also rethinking the economy. Government needs to have a strong role in the economy. We are operating a liberal economy where everything is left to the market forces of demand and supply. But there is no trickle down with the market forces of demand and supply. And that is to the detriment of the most vulnerable.
But now in a minute, your final remarks as we are winding up with our discussion.
Thank you so much. I think on the way forward, of course, as Siatini, what we believe, like I earlier alluded to, is trade is key. Because we believe as Siatini we can trade our way out of poverty. So there is need for government to take trade more seriously, to organize our trade, and by signing product-specific agreements, just like Kenya has done with China. And of course, that will help us to have a stable market, and then we can mobilize production. But not to mobilize production before being sure of the market. And we believe also that there is need for Uganda to have a robust strategy for engaging in external markets. Not to have a strategy for each market, but a robust one strategy for engaging in all external markets. And of course also the issue of program-based budgeting is a good really move by government, but we believe it should be fully implemented. Because when you look at the state now, the way it is, we are looking at agro-industrialization, but in Parliament of Uganda, there is the Parliamentary Committee on Trade and there is one on agriculture. So there are two different committees. So it's not fully implemented.
Okay.
And of course, reviewing our investment code in order to incentivize our investors to reinvest their profits, because what is happening currently is they're repatriating the profits.
Okay.
And also, of course, there is the need to holistically look at the economy,
okay,
both in the immediate, medium, and long term.
Okay.
And of course, review some policies to make them work, and also put in place policies can help us to, of course, make the economy vibrant again and help the economy work, enable the economy to work for everyone.
All right. And that is Herbert Kafero, who is the Programs and Communications Manager at Seatini, Uganda. We are looking at briefly, not briefly by the way, we are deeply looking at the state of the country's economy, and I hope our conversations have been quite helpful to you, viewer out there, wherever you are. Now, that brings us to the end of our topic of discussion. All right, now we switch to the SMB Insight, and in today's Insight, we take a look at the importance of SACCOs getting licenses from the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. Thanks. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you.
Albert, on
the first obvious question, the first obvious answer is simple. It's a legal requirement. I don't need to ever talk about this. Section 36 in the Act says no SACCO shall operate the business of a SACCO without a license. The other thing, it gives protection. If you have a license, you are protected. When they challenge you in court, you are protected because you have a license. You are doing a business that is lawful. But if they challenge you, by the way, even if you're going to challenge others, you can have defaulters, by the way. And by the way, let me say it. Somebody told him, and you are the guys. We have so many teachers' circles, some lawyers coming to our press, searching, was this SACCO licensed? Was this SACCO licensed? Because they are challenging. And we normally give the answers. I don't know how far it goes, but of course there are so many rulings already, but which are not known to so many of you. So I'm saying it gives legal protection. You know, when you go, you want, it's called a doctrine of clean hands. The doctrine of clean hands demands, if you go seeking for equity, seeking for justice, go with clean hands. If someone has disturbed you and you beat him, you can't go and say, but you've already so fought. You don't have a license, you are doing an illegal activity, an unlawful activity, then you want to go and challenge somebody. That's the first objection. And you'll be defeated there at that point. They will not go into the demerits and merits of the case. So I'm saying it gives legal protection to have a license. Members, ladies and gentlemen, let's agree from here that to operate that business on behalf of your members, you must have a license. If you are a manager and you are there, you are a manager, and you don't have a license, then the board here, board members, blame that manager because he's going to make you make losses. Because if there is a challenge, you are not protected. So managers, please, 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 you are the technical advisor to the SACCOs. Managers who are here, I had somebody introducing manager. Please, if you're a manager, I'm begging you that make sure your SACCO you are managing is operating within the law. The other one, credibility. You know, when you are licensed and you put a license, I normally see these guys who say, we are regulated and supervised by Bank of Uganda. So maybe also you could say, we are licensed and supervised by UMRA. It gives credibility. You talk with confidence. Accessing funds in the form of grants. If you want a grant, these days, these donors normally come to us. Is this SACCO license? We say no. And I don't know if you've ever applied, if you never got a grant, maybe that's the reason. Yes, if you've ever done it, these guys, they come, the secretary, is this? You say no. It corrupts there If they give you, well, that's your chance. But for us, if you are not licensed, we say no. So it gives that opportunity that you access funds in the form of grants or donations. And new business opportunities also. You can't do only credit, you can do other businesses because there's this new, I'll give an example, agency banking. So if you want to, because you are open, maybe customers are not coming, you can do another activity to do with banking. And you apply for agency banking. But I know they'll ask you if you are licensed to do that business. Recently, I had an institution which went and applied for agency banking, and they said, we need a license. They came to us. But for them, when they started the business, they said, we don't trust anybody. We shall not go in that business of loans. Defaulters are too many. So what they did, they mobilize the money, they buy land, and they sell land. So that's their business. So when I looked in their report, out the books of accounts, I said, you guys, you are not doing the business we are going to license. So we can't license this business we don't know.
All right, and that is on the matters to do with issues of licensing. I think even businesses need licenses, so do the microfinance institutions, as well as SACCOs or savings and cooperatives in there. Okay, after the break, I've got the main man, Baridio Andrew, here. We're going to be discussing the top stories, topics of the week, the top topics of the week after the break, and we've got quite a number of those. And of course, also looking back at the month of August, what made headlines in the month of August, because we are freshly in a new month, or to put it in a perspective, tuli mwezi ogw'omwenda, mwezi gwa September. Stick around. Good morning.